So the first thing that we have to understand here, just a few easy concepts before we work on the technique, is that every time the guy has his back off the mat and he is on his side, he will have, most of the times, this knee as a shield, and normally he works it between my shoulder and chest, okay? And in this position he has a lot of leverage to move, to hip escape whenever he needs, to push me with the knee, to block with both of his hands my attempts to get closer to him, okay? So this is a good half guard for him, for the one who's on bottom, okay? And the first thing that I need to do before I try to pass his guard is I need to get rid of this knee shield so I can put pressure on him, and I need to get closer to him. I need to get his back flat on the mat, okay? After his back is flat on the mat, everything changes, okay? The knee shield won't work the same way. Even if he tries to use his hands, it will be a lot harder to avoid my pressure, okay? So what do we do in this situation? The first thing that I like to do is that I like to block his hip with this hand, okay? And pull it to me a little bit, just so he won't move so easily. And I like to block his knee with this second hand here, okay? Now, I'm going to start walking in this direction here, in the direction of his feet, okay? So I can put his back flat on the mat and start to get some pressure on, okay? I can lift my knees a little bit, but just enough to make me move, okay? Try to do some resistance, Yanni. Look, I start walking in this direction, and every time I can get my hips closer to his hips and his back flat on the mat, even this knee that he used as a shield before won't work the same way. Try to avoid my pressure. Look, it's just a matter of switching the direction of my chest, and sooner or later it will fall and he won't have it anymore. Now I have the pressure of my chest, the pressure of my whole upper body on top of him, and even his hands that before were working really well, it's a different situation now because I can get his head, I can get the underhook, just because I was able to put his back flat on the mat, okay? So let's just repeat this first movement here as an exercise, as a complement of our warm-up, and then we go for the technique. So, hand on his hip, hand on his knee, okay? I start to get some pressure on, and I start walking in this direction. It's important, my only goal now is to put his back flat on the mat, and to get my hips closer to his hips, okay? So here, there. My knee is now close to his hip bone. Even if he tries to push me with his knee shield, it won't work the same way, and I will be able to get rid of it and get to this position, all right? So let's just repeat this first part of the passing technique. You can switch by yourselves, and the guy on bottom tries to make a little bit of resistance just to get some reality on it, and we can start working this way, okay? Let's try his bottom leg, and now I start walking in this direction, especially getting this knee close to his hip bone, and once his back is flat on the mat, that's it. He won't be able to use it as well as before, okay? I get rid of it, I get the underhook, and I can look for the head as soon as possible, all right? So, what I like to do here, every time that I can get his head with this arm, okay? It doesn't matter if it's the half guard, or if it's the side control, or if it's the mount. Every time that I can get his head, and I want to put pressure, I want to make him uncomfortable, I always look for these same details, okay? The first thing that I do to get the pressure as heavy as possible on him is that I get this hand under his shoulder, okay, and I lift it a little bit, okay, just enough to get this second hand as deep as possible on his armpit, okay? And my goal is always to have this middle finger on his armpit, okay? Once I have it, the most important detail about the pressure I'm going to put on him is this next. I need to pull him, okay? I need to pull him as much as I can. The pressure won't be the same if I try to put the weight already on this position. If I pull him first, everything changes, okay? So I pull him, and now I won't be trying to put the pressure on his chin, but on his neck, all right? So I can use this hand as on the mat as a support, and I'm going to try and put as much pressure as I can on his neck, okay? We are just trying to find the right pressure point here. We are not trying to pass yet, okay? So we'll be doing this just for a few minutes again, get rid of the knee shield, getting the pressure on, and then we'll be working the pass next, okay? So every time I put the pressure, I try to get the pressure of my shoulder on his neck, not on his chin. From down, up, this hand I can support on the mat, and the guy now on bottom will be helping me, just telling me, okay, you have more pressure this way or that way, okay? I put the pressure on, look. All right? I'm just looking for that exact point where to put the pressure, and then we can start working, or the passing or going straight to the mount. Of course, with the, without the gi, when we are talking about MMA or submission wrestling, we don't have as much as, how do you call it, friction, right?
Yeah, friction.
Okay, friction. So it's always easier to maintain and keep the pressure on when we have more friction. But at the same time, if we get good putting pressure without the gi, it will be a crushing pressure, and we will never lose it, okay? So let's just repeat this. Hand on the hip, hand on the knee, okay? I start walking this way, getting his back flat on the mat. His knee is already close to his hip. I get rid of the knee, underhook, and hand, okay? Every time I get the hand, again, doesn't matter. Half guard, side control, mount. If I want to put pressure, I always look for these details. I lift his shoulder a little bit, middle finger to his armpit, and I pull. Now, the pressure is not too high, okay? I want to set my shoulder on his neck, all right? This hand on the mat. I can support my head on the mat too if I need. And I want to make sure that I use all the pressure that I can from my shoulder on his neck. Yeah. Okay. This is why I divided the technique this way and made sure it was shown separately, because if we can get rid of the knee in a good way, if we can get the pressure on, and especially if I can get my hand in the right place, if I pull him in the right way, it will be really, really hard for the guy on bottom. Sooner or later, he will open a space, he will open a window for me, and I will be able to pass. Okay, so make sure you guys try again and again these first two steps, because they are the two most important ones. Okay, how we pass later, we have thousands and millions of ways on how to pass, but we do really need to get rid of the knee shield and to get the pressure on. All right? So, here we go. Hand on the hip, hand on the knee. I start walking. I get my hip on top of his. His knee shield is almost gone already. I just need to release that hand. Okay? I get the head. I lift his shoulder a little bit, and I get my hand as deep as I can on his armpit, okay? I pull him to me, and again, the pressure is always on the neck. Get your shoulder as low as you can before you start putting pressure. okay? Because if your shoulder is low, some way or another, your shoulder will end up sliding and finding his way to his neck, okay? If you're too high and you put the pressure on the shin, it's always bad, it's uncomfortable, but the pressure on the neck is always worse for the guy who's on bottom, okay? So make sure your shoulder is low. All right, so in this position, what do I like to do? I like to start putting the pressure on, and one of the things that I can do is that I can just get his knee on top of his hip and sit down, okay? I can still put the pressure on with my shoulder and have the knee here. Close the half guard, please, Yanni. We'll release it. Okay. All right. This hand I can support or on the mat or on his hip, okay? It's just important to control his shoulders completely. By that I mean just to put pressure. By putting pressure, you be controlling his shoulders, okay? Even if the guy tries to breach or something, if the pressure is on, he won't be moving much. Try. Okay? He can try to move, but with the pressure on, it's really hard to move enough to unbalance me. Alright? And then with this knee on, with this hand on the hip, I can just start to getting rid of the half guard and arriving on side control. Okay? So again. Yeah. Okay. Hip, knee. I start walking. Pressure on. After my knee is close to his hip, I just need to get the pressure on, let the knee slide off, and I'm close enough to get his hand. I lift his shoulder a little bit, middle finger to his armpit, I pull, okay? This hand on the hip, on the mat, it doesn't matter. I just need to put the pressure on the neck, okay? Once I lift my knees a little bit and then I lift my hip, I can always get this knee inside and on top of his hips and always keep the pressure on, okay? Now, try to resist. I put the pressure with my shoulder. I can use this hand on the knee, on the hip, it doesn't matter. The important thing is to keep the pressure and push with this bottom knee so I can make my foot free and pass the guard. Okay? Can I show it on you once, just so you know? Okay, there. And to the hip and to the knee. Okay? We walk. Here we go. Release right. Pressure up, under hook. Lift the shoulder. And as deep as possible. Middle finger to the armpit. I pull. Okay? This second hand is on support, okay? It's here to help us. Once I start putting the pressure on, I get the knee inside, okay? I can sit on the mat, but it's important to keep the pressure there, alright? Now, even if the guy tries to close the half guard, I can get rid, I can get my foot free, pass the guard, and get to the set control. I just need to concentrate on the pressure, okay? If we keep the pressure on, it will be really hard for the guy to resist all those pushings with my knees and with my hands and dealing with the pressure on the neck. Let's try. Let's go. I see that some of you guys had some difficulty getting the knee inside and on top of his hip after we get the pressure, okay? What are we trying to do now? We are trying to put pressure on the guy as much as we can, of course, to make him uncomfortable, without really needing to use most of our strength. Okay, we use the less possible, and we are trying to put pressure in a way that we can still move freely with our head, with our legs, and pass the gun. Okay. I always use this hand. Sometimes on the mat, sometimes on the hip, sometimes on the knee, okay? But I always use it where I feel it will give me more balance, okay? Once I start to put pressure, I need to get my hip up so my knee will fit in this little space between this top leg and his hip, okay? And once I get here, I can still sit down on the mat, have my bottom leg, my hip on the mat, and keep the pressure on, okay? Always on the neck. Try to close the half guard down, okay. Now, with this, in this position here, I can use the strength of my leg, pushing his hip, pushing his legs, use the strength of my hand, pushing his top leg to get my foot free, okay? If by any chance I don't feel comfortable enough, switching my hips, getting the knee inside on top of his hip, and I feel that I might lose my balance during this movement, it's always better to keep the pressure on and go for something, how do I say, simpler in a movement way, okay? How can we do a really effective technique? Where can we go in an effective way without losing our balance at all? After getting the knee up and free from the half guard, here, straight to the mat, okay? This way, I'm sure I won't be losing my balance at all, okay? Even if it's just a matter of finding yourself good in the position we did previously, but going straight to the mount is just as simple as any other passing that you guys might know, okay? After I get my knee free from the half guard, I just point it this way on the mat, and then I can start working on how to get my foot free from this position, all right? So, like I said before, every time I can get his head with my arm, I'll be trying to do the same pressure with the same details, okay? If I was able to get myself in this position, getting his head with this arm, now I can switch. Oh, sorry for your hand. I can switch and get his head with my other arm and do everything the same again. Look, lift his shoulder, middle finger to his armpit, I pull it, pressure. If my shoulder is too high, I get it lower, pressure on the neck, and he won't be able to keep the half guard if the pressure is right. I can go straight to mount. I'm not squeezing my arms, I'm not using a lot of my strength, I'm just getting my shoulder in the right position on his neck, putting the pressure on, putting my weight on, and making him uncomfortable enough so I can get first my knee free from the half guard and then my foot, okay? Yeah. Here. I want to get rid of this knee first, alright? Underhook is here. I get the head, lift his shoulder, middle finger to the armpit, always pull, okay? Make sure you're putting the pressure on the neck, not on the shin, alright? Hand, wherever you feel best. Pressure on, lift your hips, and make sure your knee goes free, okay? Point it out this way. Okay, now, switch hands and get your head with your other hand. Everything the same. I lift his shoulder, middle finger to the armpit, pull him to knee, pressure on the neck, try to concentrate. Okay, look. Why I will let go of my foot there? Because I will be twisting his whole body. Can it happen that I put the pressure but the guy don't release my foot? Yeah, it can happen sometimes. If the guy is really flexible, he doesn't mind looking that way and still holding my foot, or if it's a really resistant guy to the pressure, it could happen, okay? Can I use what we normally use, which is the hook on top of his leg, to open the half guard and get my foot free and go to the mouth? Yeah, of course, we can always use it. But the thing is, like I said, every time I can get the head, I look for those details. Middle finger to the armpit, I pull, pressure of the shoulder on the neck. The hook on top of the leg might help sometimes, but I always like to think of it and use it as a secondary complementary thing, okay? I always try to concentrate on the pressure and on these details that I have shown you guys. And if by any chance I need to use the hook on top of his leg, like we did yesterday, who was here yesterday saw a movement that I used of this hook on top of the leg. We use it as a secondary thing, as a thing just to make sure we can get the foot free and go straight for the mount. Okay? Any questions?